Hi everyone! Welcome to Webinar Wednesday. I'm Samantha Morgan and I am the founder of QuickFlip Media. So who is QuickFlip Media? We work primarily with small businesses, nonprofits, and creators probably like you to help you grow your digital presence. That can mean videos for websites, social media content, photographs, podcasts, websites, whatever. You name it, we do it. I started this webinar series because I know firsthand how overwhelming content creation can be, especially when you're running a business. In fact, I had to skip the last two Webinar Wednesdays because frankly, I was too busy. But don't worry, I have a plan for the new year and that's going to keep this thing going in a much more sustainable way. So basically, I'm going to practice what I preach. Anyway, point being, I get it. On top of keeping up with the business of the day, there's always some new platform or new trend that people say you have to follow. And lately, that word is AI. No matter what level you're at with AI, I have a little tool I want to introduce you to today that I think is really going to help. In fact, it's less of a tool and more like the entire damn toolbox, okay? Then I'm going to introduce you to my buddy Wes Kennison. He is the founder of Version 47, which is another video production company here in Baton Rouge. He's worked on every type of video project you can imagine, and his company is really embracing tech. So what does that mean exactly? Don't worry, he's going to explain, but he'll do it a lot better than I will. So before we get to all that, let's talk a little bit about what's really going on in the world of AI, specifically when it comes to video.
All right, so here we are talking about AI, and I think that this headline you're seeing right now sums it up pretty well, don't you think? If you do anything on social media, you've probably been seeing, and maybe you've been fooled by a lot of these AI videos out there right now. I know I've gotten tricked by a few of them. In fact, I started following some accounts that break down how you can tell whether or not a video is AI or not, because it's just so hard to tell, right? But anyway, you've probably seen a lot of ads on social media telling you that you can do all this too, and you can probably replace your entire marketing team with just one AI subscription. And to that, I have to say, don't do that. Do not do that. It's not going to do everything for you. We're not there yet. And also, you really need that human touch involved in this process, and we're going to hit on that a few more times today. So keep that in mind as we go. I want to share another important headline, and that's this one here. AI subscription costs outpace streaming for many US consumers. This is huge because I don't know about you, but I am feeling subscription fatigue like crazy right now. I feel like everything on my bills account is subscription, right? There's so many of them and they're stacking up, and if streaming wasn't bad enough, now we've got all these AI subscriptions. So digging into this article a little bit, which by the way came out just a few days ago, so this is fresh information here. This study basically says that 77% of paying AI tool users now consider their subscriptions essential to everyday life, with many spending more per month on AI than on traditional digital services such as streaming video or music, right? Jump down a little bit. On average, respondents subscribed to 4 different AI tools and spent $66 per month, with 24% spending more than $100 per month. For 21% of subscribers, AI represents their most expensive subscription category. Despite rising costs, 71% of those surveyed said they plan to add more AI subscriptions over the next year. So Y'all, I'm cheap. I do not like paying for all these subscriptions. And I will say that I paid for ChatGPT, was my first AI subscription, and really my only AI subscription until we found a new service that actually, no, that's not true. We did pay for a couple other AI subscriptions. Midjourney's one of those, and then a couple of others as well that we gave some test drives to. So like many of those respondents, my business is utilizing AI and has been pretty much since it started, and we're not going back. We're not going back. So we have to find a solution to this subscription problem because there's just too many of them out there, and it will definitely kill your costs, giving you way too much overhead if you don't figure out a solution to it. So this is a place that we have found very useful, and that is Galaxy.AI. It's important to include that .ai on there because if you just search Galaxy, you're going to end up with a lot of Google related content. So Galaxy.AI is an AI hub that brings together over 100 AI different tools. I think there's like even more than that now. It's all in one place. It includes everything from video and photo tools to voice cloning, animation, marketing scripts, editing platforms. I mean, so you've got your ChatGPT in here. You've got actually every large language model at your disposal. And you can actually do a really cool thing where you can compare the different platforms and see what one prompt will give you on all of these different platforms so you can see how they stack up against each other. If you have used AI much, you know that not all of these platforms are the same. Some are better than others, and some are better at performing specific tasks than other ones. So, you know, that's largely debated on what those different platforms are and what those different tasks are. But this basically gives you the ability to start reviewing those things on your own. And the reason why that's going to be really helpful to you is this is basically a chance to test drive a lot of these different platforms before you go set up a subscription that you're going to, one, forget to cancel, or you're just not going to have time to use, and you're going to put off and you're going to put off, and you're going to end up spending, 3 months before you ever actually get around to test driving the thing, and then you realize, oh wait, this doesn't actually do what we want it to do. We utilized one service recently to kind of test out and see how it performs with creating fake influencer videos. You've seen some of those, and let me tell you, I was not impressed. And so we ended up having to eat that entire month of the subscription. But it wasn't really what I was hoping it would be. And I definitely was more interested in seeing how it performed than I was in actually utilizing what it produced. But so it was more of like a test case than anything, but definitely had some shortcomings. So had I been able to give it a proper test drive beforehand, I probably would have never gone for that subscription service anyway. So taking a look at some of the things that you can do in Galaxy.AI. So first of all, you have this prompt library. And as you can see, you can select which model you want to use, and you can select which category you want to use. So if you wanted to maybe generate some images or video or text, you could select which model you want to use. So say you wanted to test drive Midjourney or Sora. Sora is where you're seeing a lot of the videos coming from these days. Say you wanted to give that a test drive, you could do that here. and they give you a lot of suggestions. So things that you can look at as, models or examples. In fact, if you go to the primary page, they actually have a great section for learning with Galaxy.AI. It's over here in this Discover section, actually. So learn with Galaxy.AI. They've got 87 different tutorials here that walk you through all of the different things, all of the different AI creation tools that are available. And so you can find something, if you're looking for something specific, like you're really trying to figure out, like, how do I do this one specific thing? I would suggest starting out with these tutorials and looking for something that fits with your concept or your idea. But once you kind of get past the tutorials and play around a bit, you could just go into the tools section and you'll see, this is what I was talking about earlier, Chat Arena. This allows you to stack up your different AI platforms. Okay, so you can use one prompt down here, and then you can set it to run it through all of these different AI models. So you see this, so we've got the big ones, you've got the newest iteration of ChatGPT. So if you wanted to just stack the different ChatGPT generations against each other, right? You could do that. Or what would be more useful is to say, okay, if you wanted to ask ChatGPT 5 and say, let's go down here, let's go talk to Grok. Okay, so let's see, one prompt, let's say, tell me how Galaxy.AI is as a potential tool for AI content creation. So let's see. It has now given us our prompt. So you can see ChatGPT moved a little bit faster. All right, so this is the Grok version. This is the ChatGPT version. You see it kind of breaks it out a little bit different visually. And both of them's verdict is good. They both seem to like it. So this is a really great if you're starting with content creation. It's highly recommended for its speed and model variety. So that's good to know. But this is a great way for you, like I said, to test drive and see which platform works best for you. Now that's just kind of basic, right? Let's go back home and let's look at our tools, and let's continue into some of the more complex tools that are available. All right, so you can have the AI image generator, the kissing video generator. So if you want to take a picture of a couple, my partner actually did this recently with his parents' wedding picture, and it was very sweet. And you can, send that to them on their anniversary. That's a cute little thing you can do. You can also, that's a great way to make a photo into a video that you can use for your video production. So you've got AI voice changer. So if you wanted to transform your voice, you're trying to do like a voiceover element on your videos, you can use that here. Reimagining video, so it's AI video to video. AI music generator, so if you just need some generic music to go behind your video and you want to make sure that you're not using anything that's licensed, this is a place that you can do that. or you have a very specific idea of the type of music you want, you can't quite find it, like this might be a way to utilize that. B-roll video generator, so you can UGC style. So what does UGC mean? That's user generated content style. So that is very much in line with what you'd want to do for social media video content. And there are a lot of other different video things you can do. Generate videos using Sora 2. Again, I told you this is the one that is really getting a lot of attention right now on social media. So it's definitely worth playing around and seeing what you can create there. And you can see this is text to video that they're telling you here, and then they have image to video as well. So if you wanted to upload an image and turn that into a video. So let's see. Well, I would run some of these simulations for you, but the one thing is some of the video creation takes a little bit longer. So for the purposes of this live demonstration, yeah, probably wouldn't work out too well. It usually takes anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes sometimes to generate those video images, longer if you have a longer video or a more complex video. Photos are a lot faster. There are a lot of things that you can do with photos. But also in here, look, you've got AI blog post generator, AI image caption generator. So these are some of those tools that will help you with getting your content, once you've created it, out on social media a lot faster and more efficiently. And I would say that like I said, there are a lot of things out there, services that are trying to brand themselves as an all-in-one marketing replacement kit, and that is definitely, I have not found any one of those to be very successful. Maybe you have. If you have, drop that in the chat. Tell me. I would love to go take a look and see what it is. But as I said, I have not really seen that yet. So you might just try to utilize this first and see what is helpful to you and what does help you save time before you try one of those all-in-one type of places. I think this is going to give you better results. Okay, so the biggest complaint that I have seen in searching for the different reviews out there, because prior to this live stream, I was really kind of like worried about presenting this to you because I hadn't had a lot of time to play around with it, and I wanted to make sure that the reviews really reflected that this was a good product to use before I suggested that you use it. So some of the reviews that I saw were basically the complaint that there's almost too much here. Look, you can see I'm just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. There are so many different things. Look at this. AI double chin remover. Yes, please. Background remover. So this is really helpful for image and a lot of different little things that you can do. This is great for photographers who have really picky clients who really want their pictures to be spot on. This is where you can come and use some of these tools to do that. Again, image video generation is huge, and especially if you're trying to utilize, like if you want to create some B-roll for something that's very generic, I tend to lean in the category of trying to use as much true to life video as possible. So if I'm talking about a thing, I really want to see video from that thing. I don't want to see fake video most of the time, but for the purposes of B-roll, there are instances that it could be helpful, that it could be really useful for you to have some kind of generic imagery in the background of whatever you're using, or if you just want to like really embrace the silliness that AI can create. I find that to be some of the most successful content online right now is not the stuff that's trying to trick people and show them like all the, crazy weird things they can do. Instead, it's really the video that it obviously is AI. There have been a lot of analysis of different marketing campaigns that have been utilizing, like big campaigns that have been utilizing AI. The one recent one involving Mariah Carey was kind of highlighted as a great use of AI tools because you could clearly see, the fantasy there. So it's basically more like if you utilize it as your own way to take the Hollywood magic and kind of bring it home to a smaller scale, that's where you're going to find the best use cases for it. So just to give you a couple more things to think about regarding Galaxy.AI is that this does operate on a credit system. So what does that mean? Okay, so you have to use, credits for certain areas of this platform. So different tools, because not all of these platforms allow you to do some of the things that this one hub does. So you basically get credits that you can redeem for different pieces of content that you're creating. And the video stuff, those are the more, I guess, token or credit intensive pieces of content. The chat arenas, that is generally like not using any tokens at all. So that's great if the majority of what you're using AI for is for, chat. And basically this service is about the same cost as, one subscription to ChatGPT. So basically you can, with the cost of one subscription, have access to all subscriptions. So that's where it really becomes a cost-cutting measure. The credits, you can actually add credits to your account if you need to, and you can purchase those in addition to what you've paid for your subscription. But chances are you're probably not going to need to do that unless you are really intensively, doing video creation. What I like about this too is, if you think about it from an environmental perspective, which, I'm an environmental loving, tree hugging, type of person. And so if you think about it from the environmental perspective and you say like this credit system does in a way make you think a little bit about what you're doing instead of just getting on there and creating content all willy-nilly and burning down rainforests in the process. This makes you kind of step back and go, wait, do I want to waste my credits on that, or do I want to have a better idea of what I really want to do before I do that? So in a way, I kind of like that. It makes you, think about things a little bit more, be a little more purposeful instead of, like I said, burning down rainforests for, fart videos. I'm just saying. So that's the credit system. You can actually get free credits every day by coming to this free credit section. And I've already redeemed today's credits. And so you just come in here every day and it's like a little package and you click it and it gives you credits for the day. So as you can see, I've missed a bunch of days here because I haven't really needed the credits. We're pretty good on credits so far. Not utilizing the video services too much these days, but I am starting to play around with it a little bit more. It's just one of those things that it's either going to be something you use a lot or very infrequently. For us, it's infrequently because we can produce a lot of the content that we need. But if you are, don't have access to all the equipment and gear and things that we have, this could be a real game changer for you. So, real quick, I am going to switch it back.
Okay, pretty cool, right? Now, the one thing I really want to emphasize here is that this is not about replacing humans with AI. It's all about amplifying what you already do and cutting down the time it takes to do it. The best content still needs human touch, and probably more than ever. AI is just here to help you scale, save time, and stay consistent. So this is something we talk a lot about, actually. So here is my chat with my buddy, Wes Kennison.
I've teased you with my guest today, and I'm very excited that I'm now here with my guest today, Wes Kennison. I have known you for entirely too long. What is it, like 20 years now?
Something like that, if not more.
Yeah, man of many talents. First met you as a musician and then learned that you are an incredible, amazing videographer as well.
Yep.
So can you, for our new friends, tell them a little bit about how you got into the video scene?
Yeah. I tell people that I slipped and fell into video production.
Okay.
So my story with video began at a hockey game in Nashville. I was on the ice with my then boss at the time, and I was a manager of operations at a courthouse research company. So very like efficiency oriented kind of a gig. I've been a creative my whole life, and so the action showed up right in front of us, and I like pulled my phone out and I was like following it around, and I was like, I want to do this. Like, this is what I want to do. It's that rush from, watching the shot unfold. And 3 months later, I had a job as an operations manager at Launch Media, which is a video production studio that used to be here in Baton Rouge. I was there for 10 years, and over the course of my time there, really made it a point to learn the tools. So I started on teleprompter, and then I learned how to run audio, and then being on set with people who knew way more than I did, I learned how to light, and eventually bought a camera and started editing. So that was almost 15 years ago that started. So I've been a video pro for a minute.
Yeah.
Hot minute now.
That's the way to do it, though, is to start with like prompter, or start, like, I don't mean to say at the bottom, but I mean, with.
It about
at the bottom. All right.
You got to be able to type really fast. It's like all you really got to be able to do.
Yeah, right. Or scroll really well. I will tell you, though, when I worked in news, the one position in the newsroom that was the scariest to me was teleprompter, because I have watched some poor teleprompter operators.
It's true.
Get put through the ringer because they didn't do it right. So anyway,
you can fuck it up.
You can fuck it up. It is a difficult task to do.
Yeah,
anyway. But yeah, so you've basically done every position there is, and you've done every type of video there is. I've seen you do everything from high scale video production, big budget commercials, big budget video shoots, to now web videos and everything in between. So what's your favorite sandbox to play in?
It's kind of like asking which kid do you like the most.
Fair.
Everyone's got a favorite, but you don't talk about it.
So just say it.
So I think, I've really been focused for the last probably 8 years of my video career on post-production things. And so what that journey has looked like for me has been all about design. So that's graphic design, illustration, art direction, and including those things into footage-based projects. And the idea there is that it's, cinematography. When you're working for a client, you're doing commercial work, cinematography is sometimes not enough. Sometimes you need a little more to represent the brand and just to elevate what you're doing. And so to me, a lot of the work that I was looking at that I loved was from design-driven studios like Buck and Man vs. Machine, Gentleman Scholar, just these bigger New York, LA studios that were doing this crazy work that involved 3D and 2D and footage and all kinds of stuff. So that's really what I've been focused on for the last 8 years. And so anything that is, and if you look at our portfolio, that's kind of what you see. There's some stuff that is anchored in cinematography and just like the classic principles of filmmaking, but there's also a good bit of design-driven stuff in there, 2D, 3D. So
yeah.
I would say hybrid projects are my favorite because I get to kind of touch a little bit of everything that I know how to do.
Right. You get to be that kind of, all over the place, one hand here, one hand there. Yeah. And so you said R. So that would be version 47 we're talking about?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So tell us about version 47.
Version 47 is a video production studio that I co-own with my partner, Tyler Durrett. Our model is a little different than other production places in that he's a software developer and I am a commercial filmmaker. We're both creative directors though in the business, and really what that means is that we've both got a technical skill set and we've also got, the ability to kind of live in the clouds a little bit. And then eventually those big ideas have to be grounded in like technical problem solving.
Yeah.
And so my way of doing that is with the tools of commercial filmmaking, cameras, editing software. His way of doing that is in a code base as a developer. And so what he does is he makes workflow tools that make the video production process smoother and more efficient, but also allows us to do stuff that you just can't do as a filmmaker without a developer in the mix. So the idea is a bit novel. It's not a thing you see a ton of. There's not a lot of people who have a creative director of engineering on
Right.
on the roster, but that's kind of like, that's a model that we see as becoming more and more relevant as AI becomes more capable and as the tools become more profound in what they can accomplish. The ability to creatively execute across disciplines is going to become more and more of a requirement. And it's already kind of bearing out in the market. Like we're seeing more and more of that every day.
Yeah, let's talk about what we're seeing in the market because there's a lot.
There's a
lot. I mean, you're utilizing some tools in what you're doing and what you're creating, but there's definitely a lot of stuff out there that, some worth it, some not.
Right.
What are you seeing? What are you finding value in?
Man, that's such a big question.
I know. You want to chunk it down a little smaller?
I'm going to try, and then maybe we edit that out and chunk it down smaller.
Sure.
No, I kid. I think, I can ground this in like an example of a project.
Okay.
And I think it kind of speaks to the whole dynamic, at least as it sits today in September 2025. I could say a bunch of things now that all change tomorrow because something else could come out. So if that's kind of the caveat, we were doing a 3D project for a client, and we actually set out to try to see how much of our jobs can Gen AI take, right? And so what we found was that, when you're in the early stages of any project, there's a lot of ideas floating around, a lot of them are squishy, and the goal of the script and the storyboard is to make those visible for everybody and have everyone, client being the first one on the list, say, yes, that's what we want, that's what we're doing, let's go make it. And so what we found was that the tools that are out there are incredibly useful for art direction, let's say, or for exploring style, things that you used to have to do manually that you don't really have to do anymore. But eventually you have to get that style in a means that you can control it and that you can actually have more of a hand in what comes out of the process, because the client has to sign off on it. So if you're prompting your way into a thing that just, you're barely cobbled it together, and then the client's like, well, I don't like this and I don't like that. Well, now you have to go prompt your way into fixing that. And what we found in our exploration on the project was that it just, the level of control that we needed, A, to satisfy what we were going for as filmmakers, and B, meet the client demands, just wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where Gen AI is at right now. I found the art direction, style framing part of our process to be very useful when you're working, especially with 3D. Like, they're basically engineers that make a very sexy product, but the questions they ask are super technical.
Yeah.
And anytime I've ever worked with a 3D artist, it just blesses my little heart how little I know,
Right,
really.
right.
Like, it's such a technical thing. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's, I found it to be immensely helpful on the front end of things, but I still like to work with a person because I like to noodle with stuff, and clients need to noodle with stuff. That's why they're hiring us.
Right.
So having humans in the mix who can, take the starting points, the genesis points that AI gives us, and then refine them into something that's actually workable, that is unique, is kind of where I'm at with the whole thing.
Yeah. I think that definitely starts the question. I think that we can go way deep with this, and we'll try to keep this as surface level as possible today because we only have X amount of time. But you definitely see these videos out there now selling products to small business owners, because I think that's primarily who we're talking to here is small business owners who know they need to incorporate video into their marketing campaigns,
Right.
into their digital online presence. And they're looking for the most effective way to do that. So you've got all these AI products that are coming out now where you don't even have to have a real person anymore
Yeah.
to,
Right.
and I think that, I think that a lot of those are still probably far away from being the effective tool that they're being sold as,
Yeah.
or for being what they could be, I guess. But there are some things in the process along the way, like some of the things that you're utilizing. Can you talk a little bit more about like what those things are within your process that you are finding to be, the ones that make the most sense?
Yeah. Well, my track for getting to where I'm at, which is to say a 15-year video professional, was by writing my way in.
Yeah.
Right. And so the reason I came by that was because when we would get a new project, when I first started, clients would come in, we'd hire a script writer, they'd be like, we want that. And they
Yeah.
would point to a video, and then we would end up writing something that looked kind of like that, making something that kind of looked like that. And I kind of got tired of that within a few months of doing it, because I wanted to do better, and I wanted to have more of a say. I had ideas that we weren't getting to. And so I realized that I had to develop a process for unique ideation that I could do like times 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 projects at a time. And so that creative briefing process was all writing, right? So the first thing I would say is that, I think Gemini and Claude, and to an extent ChatGPT, are very helpful when organizing information. So
Right.
as a writer and someone who writes pretty much exclusively for the medium of video, I find them to be very helpful in organizing information, in condensing information. I'm all over the place typically, and so having something that helps me condense my thoughts into one place in a way that facilitates a conversation with a client or an internal collaborator. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
There's really no way to and looking back on it, I'm still doing all the same things that I did. I'm just getting there a lot faster. And that's because I know how to do it manually. I learned
Right.
I learned the fundamental steps needed to do that manually. But if you ask it to give you an idea, if you ask it to give you a differentiated idea, more importantly, because that's what people are buying from you when they hire you to make them a video. They want to look different than their competitors. Well, everyone's using these tools to come up with ideas, and everyone has access to these tools. So actually having like a unique thing come out of it is not something I've had a ton of success with.
Right.
So I would say for the writing part of what I do, I like Claude the best. Claude has been the most consistent LLM for me.
Okay.
I used to love ChatGPT, and
Yeah.
then something happened, and there, again, we could talk about that for an hour.
Sure.
But, I've had it explained to me by somebody who actually understands how these things work. But
Yeah.
I feel like Claude is the most consistent, and I really love their ability to create artifacts. So let's say if I want to spin up an interface that is clickable, that I can share with somebody, that either outlines an idea, or maybe it's a wireframe or a prototype, or really anything, I can be like, make me a calculator that does this, and it'll do it. And I can share that to somebody. And I wanted to, for example, see like how, because I think a lot about transparency and payment schedules, for example. So if you're working with somebody who lives overseas, but they do the same thing that somebody does here, how do you create equity in how they're paid, right?
Yeah.
Without taking advantage of the fact. So the way that I've learned about this thanks to LLMs, the way that happens is through purchasing power parity calculations. So it's like an equation that looks at factors like how much eggs cost, for example. And that's just an example. That's not
Interesting.
we're not basing our payment scales on the price of eggs, but
if we did, we'd all be in trouble.
Right, we'd be in trouble. We'd all make a lot more money,
Yeah.
right? But the idea is that you can say, okay, this is looking on Glassdoor or looking on, a salary aggregator, where you can see that, okay, someone who's been editing video for 5 years,
Yeah.
7 years, makes $50 an hour, between 45 and 50 an hour. What is this purchasing power parity of that dollar amount in geographic location X, and so I was able to create that within 10 minutes. And then it would break down all of the different factors that went into that and what it was looking at. And it's effectively a dynamic model for just sort of like saying how much is a video editing dollar worth around the world. You know?
Yeah.
And that's just like, I would have had to pay somebody thousands of dollars just to consult on that
100%,
idea,
yeah.
right? Like even 4 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And so that's maybe not a very creative example, but it is an example of just the scope of what's possible with a tool like Claude. And, you know, as a writer and as a business owner, super helpful. I think, you know, should I stop? Should I?
No, keep going.
Okay.
I'm loving it.
I think additionally, there's like this, you know, for the visual side of things, I mean, I've mentioned style frames, concepting. I try to be careful with that.
Okay.
Because there's this like space in that squishiness, okay, between where you said, okay, in my world, it's me being like, all right, so I want to have some vector shapes and they're triangles and there's some lines, and everyone involved except for me is like, what the fuck is this guy talking about, right? I tell people when I'm talking with my hands, it's dangerous. But I've got it in my head, you know, and if I can find some things that reference that and I can show it to the team or to the client, then it becomes more visible, right? And everyone can be like, cool, yeah, we want that. That's great. And I find that space, that squishy space, is really where the ideas live and where the magic is, to get a little cheesy about it. And so if you start throwing AI references into that space, well, you've kind of killed what's possible if you're working with a collaborator that you know has their own ideas and their own process. So I try to be careful with how much of that I do. But the goal with style frames and references at the beginning of a project is just to get me out of talking with my hands and be like, when I say triangle with the shape, this is what I'm talking about.
Right.
This is not what I'm talking about, right? And so it's helpful to kind of establish a lane, and then I like to let the process kind of like take it from there, because we've been with the folks who I work with, you know, I have a few, for example, for design, I have a few go-to art directors, and they're the only people that I work with. And we built a little lingo that's ours and a little work thing that's ours. And so, you know, allowing AI to get in the way just because you can, like, I don't have a reason to do that. I've been doing this long enough to where, you know, with them involved and with others on the team, I can get to a pretty specific result in a pretty consistent amount of time. And so I'm going to keep doing that. Until people stop wanting that, which I don't know why you would.
Yeah. So when we're talking about, I guess, the future of where we're going with video editing in it's the AI applications, the AI capabilities of helping us edit. Like we were talking earlier about how you can take like a podcast, for example, a video cast, and break that sucker down pretty easily with AI now. Like, how do you feel about that process? Because I have thoughts. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it. I think there's, you know, if there is an efficiency gain that can be had, then I feel creatives ought to embrace it.
Yeah.
Insofar as it doesn't step on that squishy space that I mentioned earlier.
Right.
But if the edit's been done, and what we're saying is we need some machine help to make it more accessible to more people, then why not?
Right. It helps with the scale. It helps with the ability to get the content out there quickly. That's kind of my whole bag.
Yeah, it is. And you're very good at that.
Thank you. But, you know, the efficiency, because, I mean, ultimately, AI is a tool.
Yeah.
It is not the creator, right? So the tool is held by the creator. And so we, the people, still remain the ones in charge of the creative.
Yeah.
It's just the AI is just going to be a tool to help you finish it off.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
Yeah.
You mentioned you had thoughts, though. I'm curious if you were to elaborate beyond that. Like, what would you say specifically about editing?
Okay. So specifically about editing, I mean, I agree with everything you just said. I will say that I don't think that it is fully polished yet. I think there are definitely a lot of versions out there that I have not touched yet. So there might be one that is doing a fabulous job, and I know nothing about it. I definitely know that as the storyteller in me, the person who, you know, creates the script and the dialogue and the things,
Right.
and takes an interview and chops it up and turns it into something that's watchable. That sometimes AI is right on the mark with that, and sometimes it's completely off.
Not so much, right?
So you can't just you can't just have it write a story for you and not proof it. You can't just have it edit up a video for you and then slap it out there, because it's probably going to have some glitches.
Yeah.
You got to make sure those glitches are fixed before you send it out. So I think it still requires you to have that editing knowledge and that script writing knowledge and that teleprompter running knowledge, right? All these things, these skills that we acquire from years and years of doing the work, to really be able to do it effectively. So I don't know if it's a fully workable tool for somebody who has no video background whatsoever. Like I don't know if it is just you don't have to have any knowledge about video to be able to now become a video editor with AI. Again, I am not a carpenter. I can use a hammer, but I cannot build a deck.
Right.
Right. So there's just some skills you do need to have to be able to effectively use it.
I love that you worked in a hammer metaphor.
Oh yeah.
By the way.
Okay.
I have a select few construction metaphors.
That's one.
But a hammer's totally on the list. Yep.
Well, it's the basic, right?
You got to, we all have hammers, right? I say this shit all the time though. It's
Yeah.
like everybody's got a hammer.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you're going to try to sell me on the fact that you have a hammer, I'm going to be like, well, I fucking hope so.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
So the tools have never really done the work. You
Yeah.
know, the tools, if you came up with like a Hammerator 3000, that was like, a truly better version of the hammer, it would help you do the work faster.
Yeah.
But you still got to know how to use the hammer.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to have the Hammerator 3000 monstrosities that everybody else does because they don't know how to use a hammer, right?
Right. Right.
I don't know. I think it's a perfect metaphor for how AI, encroaches on creative work and how it doesn't.
Yeah.
At all,
Right.
And so I see a lot of, one of the things that I've been fortunate enough to develop in my career is I've really been able to like kill the preciousness, which is basically just like a creator's ego in the process.
Yes.
And that just means that I've failed a bunch and fallen on my face a bunch to realize like, oh, like the important thing here is like service and results, right?
Yeah.
And bringing ideas to bear to that. And it's not about me or the story I want to tell, right? But it used to be. There was a time when that was a huge part of the deal, right? And I think that's almost like a rite of passage. As you get older, you realize that, if someone's hiring you for something, it really is about them and the results that you can create for them. And it's way more gratifying for me anyway to leverage my skill set, which is hard earned, It
Right.
still is every day. I touch the tools every day still.
Yeah.
But, when I see people have responses to what's possible now with the tools that are precious like that, it's like, there's so much more that you could be doing with your capability and with your art that is not the efficiency gains that you get from AI. So why not lean into that, insofar as it does not encroach on your process. It's to
Right.
me, it's all on the table.
I literally had a creator tell me this the other day, like not that long ago. I reached out to him regarding I was in a situation where I needed a very specific voice.
Okay.
I needed an
Like
older,
a voice?
like a voice,
Okay.
like a narration.
Yes.
And I needed a voiceover person, and I needed an older woman with a Livingston Parish accent, right? Very specific.
What's that sound like, baby? What's that sound like?
You're gonna get yourself in trouble.
Go on.
So
I love you, Livingston. I love you.
it's happening. So I needed this very specific voice, and so my thought was, okay, maybe there is a really good AI voice generator that can handle this task. Like maybe this is what I need to do. So I reached out to someone who with that more of that knowledge base, and I don't really play in that sandbox to bring that up again. And so the response I got was kind of like, I can do this, but I don't like to touch AI for anything creative. I'm like, well, why? You know, like
Yeah.
it feels like you're leaving, you're leaving your paintbrushes in the car, you know?
Yeah. I think it's funny that you mentioned voice, because for me, that's one that it's still a bit dicey.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you why.
Tell me.
'Cause it encroaches on the tone of
Yeah.
your piece.
Yeah.
Right. And also there's like, there's a whole industry of voiceover professionals who are getting put out of work.
Sure.
I think that's less of a part of the conversation on encroachment, because like that unfortunately is a byproduct of what's possible.
Right.
But like insofar as you can like tone hack now, like as I've sat on like literally hundreds of voiceover sessions over the years and gone through hundreds of castings where I've listened to 15 different VO talents and I've picked the best one and I've sat for an hour or two directing them and then made the select. So I've played that game a lot, and I appreciate the value that's created there. And I've noticed on like 11 Labs, for example, that if a voiceover professional uploads their voice, they can monetize its use. Okay. So they can monetize every single time somebody's like, I want this person to read my script. And they add that model to their account, then that voiceover talent can now monetize their voice in absentia of being on those calls and doing the casting and what I don't really know what the long-term trajectory of that is or anything. Like I don't have some like kumbaya end of this story.
Yeah.
But I do know that it represents like a new model for them to sustain what they do that did not exist before. But I do think that like if I'm precious about anything, it's the tone of the piece. And the only way you get that is by like sitting down with a human who's in front of a microphone like we are right now and like asking them to like explore the tonal space. So that's like a matter of inflection. Like, could you go up on this or try throwing away the because in that sentence? Stuff like that is to me where you can really come up with something that is valuable because it resonates with people and because they connect with it and they hear something in that voiceover that's like intangible, but it hits at like a deeper level, you know? And you're just not going to get that without sculpting that, you know, with a person, And so the reason I say it's dicey is because it's like everyone I work with is asking me that nobody wants to spend the money on the artist anymore.
Sure.
And it's hard. I mean, it's like because I know the value of that, and I deeply appreciate the value that the voiceover talent community brings to any project. But I don't know what the answer is. Like in the absence of buyer willingness, like what do you do?
So here's the thing about that, and this is the interesting part of it, is that we're now talking about a new territory or a new basically arena for how video is being produced and what it's being produced for, right? And who is having that video produced, right? So once upon a time, the small business owner, the making less than $100,000 a year business owner, right, did not have to produce as much video as they have to produce now, right? And so those voiceover dollars didn't exist before, right? So are they taking money away? Are they taking away jobs? Or are they allowing equitable distribution to individuals who can't afford but need to play in that arena? So you kind of have an interesting, because like for the use case of this one, right, was a small business that needs social media videos. Now, funny enough, we ended up going with a real person. We found her. And she exists, and she's a real woman, and she's doing the voices. So,
and it was so much easier once you found her, right?
It truly is. It truly is. But and I 100%. But that wasn't the reason for bringing the conversation was because it struck me that he doesn't like to even try to use the AI because of the creative aspect, and I think it's more complex of a conversation than just saying, nope, I don't want to use it. There are things like saying, well, would those dollars have ever been spent on a real person at once upon a time? Like it's a new ball game. We have to think about the complexities of what people are being asked to do now, which is produce an obscene amount of video,
Yep.
to be able to be competitive on any social platform. We know this,
Yeah,
like
we do.
we're dealing with this on our own,
We are. Yeah.
I've never had to produce this much video for myself, let alone, for other people. So it's changing, and it's an evolving landscape. And with that evolution, maybe we're going to see even more jobs get created because somebody does want. I actually had I voiced over something the other day because the ad agency sent it to me and said the client absolutely hated the AI voice, did not want it, wouldn't use it. And they were like, can you just go ahead and revoice it? And I was like, absolutely, no problem.
Yeah, that's cool.
Here's my invoice.
Right, right,
100% no problems with that. So I don't know. It's such an interesting conversation to have, and it's such an interesting time because we're right at the beginning of it.
Yes.
And I love that there are so many different perspectives happening, and I love how you're incorporating it in your business, what I see you doing, and how you're using it to help you, and your clients scale. And so is there any final parting thought that we haven't really talked about yet that you really wanted to dig into today?
Gosh, there's a lot. Where do we begin?
Let's
add 2 hours to the clock.
Okay. Very good.
I kid. I'm trying to think because there's a lot of different directions this conversation could go. Maybe I'll ask you a question.
Okay.
And then that'll guide
I like it.
where it heads. So who do you imagine the audience for this conversation to be, like in your head when you're thinking about the audience?
Okay. So the person who's watching this is probably, like I said, a small business owner, somebody who is trying to figure out this weird video landscape of, I need to start producing videos. I don't have time to produce videos. I don't have money to hire a video producer. I know I need to be doing this, but I don't know how to do it. And I'm trying to learn some tools and some tips on how to do that. So that's who I'm hoping is watching this.
Yeah.
Actually, because I think there are a lot more people out there right now in that boat than I think we even realize.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So to that, I would say, I think the same thing that your average small business owner is contending with, your Fortune 500 company is contending with the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't have a team of video professionals, they're absolutely trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So like that's ubiquitous across the marketplace. And I would add to that, as soon as you have a video production team, like the very next thing, so let's say money's not an option, you have 3 shooters, 3 editors, animators, the whole thing.
All the things.
The very next thing you have to figure out is like, what are they making videos about? What's going to guide that conversation, right? And that's where strategy comes into place. And strategy is a word that gets thrown around a lot. And I almost hate even saying like strategery. The strategery is the most important part, but it really is. Really is everything. And so the way that I think about this for clients is to say, okay, there's different platforms where things go. You just described a scenario where we're talking about social media, which is, organic social posting. And then there's, stuff for broadcast, which not many people are doing anymore, but it is kind of on the other end of the spectrum where it's pay to play entirely. And you have to and it costs a lot of money to make something that is worthy of broadcast.
Right.
And then you got this kind of middle area of digital ads, which is sort of like a hybrid of organic. Maybe your thing went viral and it took off, or maybe you put some money behind it. Maybe you sponsored it with some ad dollars, and then that's how it got traction. But if we're talking about the first one, which is the organic thing, what I tell people is that, you're going to get a lot further iterating along the same storylines every month than you are just trying to make like flash in the pan style content. And so if you don't know what you're doing, or if you do know what you're doing, either way, that's still the best like guiding light for your story strategy, your messaging strategy. So I'll give you an example. Let's say I own a B2B company, okay? Business to business company. And my audience is, it's a small group of people. I'm not selling to consumers. All right, I'm selling sprinklers, right? But they're like special sprinklers for landscaping professionals. Like the people who are going to buy from me are a pretty small group of people, right? And so the language that I use to sell what I sell is pretty niche too. And so if I make content that contains the language that that represents what I've figured out as a person who operates in this very niche market for however long I've been doing it, and then I put them on paper, I've got 3 things I want to say on repeat. And then I make a video about each of those things every week, and I post it every week. Then what I've done is I've created a framework where I can communicate very directly with the people who speak this niche language of mine. But if you're not doing that, if you're not putting it out there, or you're waiting for it to be perfect, or maybe you just don't have time, then you're leaving all of that opportunity on the table.
Yeah.
So that's like the B2B market. Now, if you're in the consumer space and you can like sell to anybody, or you can sell on your website, that's a very different proposition. Like the requirement for volume and for attention grabbing like goes way up.
Yeah.
And you have to you just have to be, it's way more of a volume game. Doesn't mean that strategy is not as important, but it does mean that like having a funnel of ideas is going to get you the furthest. And then really trying to pick what you focus on. Maybe instead of 3 story categories, it's like 1, and you just like, we're going to like double down on this and learn how to do this and see what works. And then every time you have something that works well, you look at that and you say, cool, how can we atomize the success and do it next month, and refine it. So when I say iterative storytelling, like that's really what I'm talking about.
Nice.
Is picking some lanes to be in, and then like allow yourself to fail a little bit at first, allow yourself to fail, be good with that. Like if I had to put out things that were great, we've talked about this.
Yeah.
Right. If it had to be great before I put it out, then we wouldn't have put anything out yet.
Yeah, for sure.
Like my standards are way up here. Go look at my body of work.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
But for the stuff that we make, sometimes you just, you have to put it out there, and with the understanding that it's improving, and the understanding that I'm growing in my knowledge. I've been doing this a long ass time, but like making content for us is like the hardest thing that we do.
Yeah.
Making it for a client is like so much easier.
Easy. Yeah.
It's interesting how that works.
Yeah. Doing for yourself is always the hardest.
Totally.
And you just gotta rip the Band-Aid off and do it.
Yep.
So look, you're really good at talking into a microphone. You should have a podcast.
I should have a podcast. I'm going to call it Flag on the Moon.
Oh boy,
it's going to be about how commercial filmmakers can leverage technology to make more videos for their clients.
That sounds really good.
Let's go make it.
Okay. Where would we find it if we were to make
Hypothetically?
it? Hypothetically.
YouTube.
YouTube?
The full episodes.
Okay.
Oh, and then we'll put little clips on Instagram. Right?
I like it.
I think it's what the kids are doing these days.
I think that's what the kids are doing.
Boy, we're geniuses.
We are geniuses. We're going to go ahead and just head on over to YouTube and make this thing happen. Or maybe it's already there. I don't know.
Perhaps.
You should perhaps go check it out.
Perhaps
we'll put like one of those like little things here on the bottom of the screen that tells you where to go to do that. But
can I be that guy that like points in the wrong place?
Yeah, do
like,
it.
Click here or maybe over here, and they pop up like did they not have control over that?
Yeah. I'd hope so, but maybe they got AI doing it, and the AI is just like, I don't know.
The people will click no matter where we put it.
Exactly. It doesn't matter. So anyway, click on this and say that you like it, and hopefully come back next month. Yeah, we do this monthly. Come back monthly, and we'll have a whole new topic of video awesomeness to discuss next month. Wes, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This has been great.
Is it
This
great?
is a great studio. Thanks to the garage for having us.
The garage and Gordon. This is a great space. Thank you so much for letting us use it.
Big vision. I love it.
Yeah. I always appreciate walking into a well-lit studio.
I know. But you don't have to like hang any lights.
You don't have to do.
You can just sit down.
You can just sit
Got
down.
the little color temperature shift in here. All right. I see what we're doing.
We see you, Gordon.
Brandon's not fucking around.
Brandon is the king. They don't play. They don't play. Thank you again. And
thank you.
Let's go, I don't know, get a hot dog or something.
Cool.
All right.
I love hot dogs.
Thank you so much for joining me today. As I mentioned at the top of this whole thing, 2026 is going to see a little change to how we do things here on Webinar Wednesday. What I've been hearing from all of you is that you need to ask me questions directly. So I'm going to move this webinar over to Zoom or Google Meet or whatever. It's going to be more of an Ask Me Anything format. So of course there's going to be a topic and I'll have some information prepared for you so you're not just like randomly putting things out there. But really this is going to be the chance for you to get a little direct Q&A session with me, which is something that I actually charge a lot of money for, and you're going to get it for free. So take full advantage of that. Keep an eye on your inbox. The first Zoom session is going to be on the last Wednesday in January. I hope you'll join me. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to have one more non-Zoom session this year, and that's going to be on the last Wednesday of December. See you then.